Hey, welcome to Quick Take. I'm Susie along with James. How are you, James?
I'm super good.
Super
Feeling
good.
good. Feeling
That is
good.
good. Feeling good. All right. So I had a team session today. I had a whole 2 hours around networking. And it's so funny because we all have a different relationship with the word networking and what it means. And some of us automatically think go to an event and meet new people. And it's so much more than that. It's connection. And it was actually fascinating because we had a lot of different people in the cohort. We had women, men, older, younger. So it was a very interesting dialogue. And what it really comes to is connection. And what is your network? And how are you investing in it?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I often remind people that, if you're going to do the networking, then do it actively, like create powerful connections. I can network at the 7-Eleven up the street or at the Walmart down the road. But if you're going to create powerful connections, you're going to make it part of your career path. You're going to leverage that and hope it helps you grow as an individual. Then just like going to the gym, you should put effort into it and make it part of your daily routine and be proactive.
And it's also having the intention around it and
Hmm.
maybe even not reaching out to a certain individual. But if you ran into them or if you ended up being in a meeting and you got there early and that person was in front of you, a senior person,
Right.
what are you going to say? And having that at least context so that you don't feel like, I don't know
Right.
what to
Right.
say. Like I've said some pretty embarrassing things in my time. I have a whole list of questions of
Really?
things I could tell you. I know it'd be shocking.
I have no idea. I can't imagine. Yeah.
I know, I don't think things through, it just comes out of my mouth first, I'll just say that. So, it's having this intention about where you want connection, and in some instances, taking action, and others, it's just having a light toward those connecting places that you wanna make.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think that you really want to think it through. One of the things that I've done in my career is, especially when I start off working with a new company or a new job, I like to do a value map that says, all right, this person, what is my relationship with them now and what do I want it to be?
Yes.
And where one is somebody that if I saw them in line at the coffee shop, I may or may not say hi, or if they said hi, I'd feel no no remorse on not remembering who they were. All the way down to the other end, where I always joke, if they call and said they had a dead body in their truck, I'd say I've got a shovel, and I'd be there, no questions asked. And so there's the spectrum there of that relationship. And what I like to do is I like to map those folks out and say, where do I want them to be, and then put the energy in to get them to that
Yeah.
place.
You have also often told me too, when you started a new organization, doing that evaluation at your first glance, but then reviewing that to see if you were
So
correct
great.
about influence. I thought that was such a great one too.
Yeah, that's the best part of that is the people that you think, oh my gosh, this is the number one person I need to spend a lot of time with, and then you retrospectively go, gosh, they're really unimportant and not worth my time. But more importantly, why did I think they were?
Yes.
And how did I miss that cue? And then vice versa, obviously. Wow, I didn't even have these three people on my radar screen. How did I miss that? And
Yeah.
so that structure, creating that framework, that really gives you the luxury of not only actively doing that, but also measuring your progress along the way.
I would say one thing is I think one of the reasons that networking gets a bad rap is it's what can you do for me? But when
Mm,
you shift that mindset around what
right.
can I do for others and how can I ask? I always ask people, no matter what level they're at, who if I feel junior to them, whatever it feels like, I always say, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And they shift, it makes them think about it. And I've actually had people who have said to me, I saw you were coming up on my calendar and I thought about what could you do for me because I knew you were going to ask.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that gives
That's so
this
great. That's so
abundance.
great that you do that. And then they knew it was going to happen. So
Yeah.
cool. That's good for you.
All right. So you're going to give us some tips.
That first one is right there. Create that framework to measure and create the structure around that. I mean, like when you were doing that cohort, was that something that you coached that team to do, or how
Yeah.
did you talk about ensuring, I know that you work with a lot of engineering and technology people. I mean, us engineers love that kind of structure. Is that something that you bring to the
Totally.
table in those
Well, it's funny because
conversations?
I also work with salespeople and finance people, and I have this worksheet in an Excel spreadsheet, which is not using an Excel spreadsheet the way you need to. So I'm just going to say that now. And if anybody's listening and wants, well, all the people that are listening to this, if you would like to see that spreadsheet, reach out to us, leave us a comment, and we will send you the spreadsheet. How's that for a call to action?
There we go.
But what I like to do is challenge people to think of 50 people they need to network with. And
50.
if you spend the time thinking about that, and I have different categories of people that they need to consider, like who are the 10 people that you
Mm,
would call if you lost your job? Who are people who are ahead of you in your career? Who is people you respect in the company, outside the company? And so it gets you, if you spend the time and it really pulls you to think really broadly. And you might think of people from your past, you might think of
mm,
people that you
mm.
want to know in your future. We have a vast network. And I'm not saying you have to commit then to connecting with all these people, but
Right.
it's interesting to go through that exercise just to see who comes up for you.
Boy, I love that. And 50 is such a daunting number. It forces you to
Totally.
really look at it and take action. So yes, I love that idea of my first one is put a framework together, create a list of 50, make it structured, make it measurable. We all like
Yeah.
measurable goals. That's such a great advice. Now I'm kind of sidetracked on, half my brain is trying to come up with 50 people. So my next two tips may not be great because I'm doing math on the other side of my brain. But the second item that I would recommend doing is creating a connection ritual. I
Yeah.
think that when you can be consistent in the way that you do this, you're that much stronger and you're that much better off. But the second one is that creating that ritual so you are more comfortable. And things like coffee chat with James, quick cocktail with James, lunch with James, whatever. And just so you're always having that. I read a really interesting study that actually LinkedIn created this formal thing called connection over coffee. And it was this,
Huh.
actually they used a matching algorithm to get people to match with people that they wouldn't normally match with. And they had an 89% participation rate. And they said that it led to 155% increase in collaboration.
Wow.
So they created this ritual. Now, in their case, they used AI because, of course, they did. And it was kind of a blind date, if you will. But I still think that if you can be consistent in that and have a method to your madness, you'll be that much more successful.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm also going to like double click on this is
Yes.
also don't get overwhelmed by this.
Oh,
Find a
yeah.
ritual that works for you, whether it is on LinkedIn, that's fine. Don't, I would say do that
Hmm.
and a couple other ones that I thought are really interesting, going in your email box and putting like a letter and it brings up all the people, put an M
Oh,
and
the
there's, oh,
J's, the
Maria.
Z's.
And
Oh, yeah. I
yeah,
love it.
it's a roulette,
Oh,
you can
yeah.
roulette. And so
Yeah.
like
Connection roulette.
making to your point, every week for 15 minutes on X day, I'm going to connect with 3 people. I'm going to play roulette. I'm going to go through my texts and go all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to consider somebody from my past and send them an HBR article. Send them just a, hey, I was thinking about you. It doesn't have to be complicated.
I love that.
Just connect.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Just putting some structure around it makes it that much easier for you. That ritual.
Yep.
I love sending out HBR articles. That's the Harvard Business Review or anything. There's a
Yes.
dozen things that
Right.
I read on a daily basis that was not a humble brag by any stretch. It's just it came up. But find something that would be interesting for somebody, send it their way and think no more of it because that's how you not only maintain that connection, but make it a powerful connection.
Absolutely. And by the way, you could send it to more than one person in
Oh my
different
gosh,
emails.
I'll never
Send
know.
the whole thing.
That's
The
exactly right.
whole,
Exactly right.
so it's like making that and think about how that feels on the other side. Wow,
Hmm.
James thought about this article and you thought of me because I'm a good leader or whatever it is. You've just invested in
That's
them.
right. And you remind them that they are important to you and you're important to
Yeah.
them. It's no different than what you were saying, which is how can I help you? That's something that's really great.
So what's your third tip?
The third tip I think is start to map where your connections are. Actually, you mentioned something earlier about groups that you worked with and that they actually
Oh,
thought
yeah.
about the maps of their connections. And I think
Yeah.
that idea and I want you to dig into that further and explain it is such a really cool way for you to create deeper connections. It's almost like having a pre-filled out form of saying, hey, these are my people in this space. And it really, again, will help you to create deeper connections. Can you expand on that
Yeah.
value network?
Well, just think
mapping.
about we had a cohort of professionals and I put them in breakout rooms. And just think about people talking about networking grows
Hmm.
that idea and that, you get different people and getting connections there. But when people came back, it was interesting. There was a group of it was men and women in just by happenstance. And the men were like, said, I don't network at all. And one of the groups of women were like naming off all the different groups that they're in and the
Mm.
ones they need to be and how they network.
Oh, so
And
interesting. Like, so
so
they,
it's
so, yeah.
it's all how you define it, and
Hmm.
it's looking at the pools of places where you could make a connection beyond. We all think we need to connect with people that are closest to us, but you need to think beyond your area of the business. You need to
Hmm.
think up and out and also other companies because even if you're not looking for a job, sometimes when you're feeling insecure or there's been a lot of changes and layoffs, the more people you have outside, the more you feel confident that you have some opportunities or options
Yep.
or resources that you can use. So expanding that view by having this conversation is what was really the aha for me.
No, I love that. That networking pool is how I'm
Yeah.
mentally seeing it. As you described it, is it is daunting to go, I need all these people. But gosh, if you just came up with three pools, I need people in manufacturing. I need some people that are in the volunteer space. I need people in nonprofit. That it's how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, as they always
Absolutely.
say. And breaking it down into those network pools really changes the perspective. I love that.
One bonus thing is, especially when you're networking within your own company with
Mm.
leaders, ask them who they think you should know.
Oh, that's always a
And if
bonus.
they make
Yes,
an
so good.
introduction for you, that is like 3 steps into the relationship, and
Yep,
that's so
yep,
powerful, and why not? Who do you think, James, I should know
that's
in
right.
your network? Will you introduce me to them?
I think that's really good,
Done.
and boy, what a easy way for you to get basically a door opened. Those types of warm
Yeah.
connections are always so much more powerful. So yeah, I love that. That's two really zingers there from Susie. How can I tell people or ask people how can I help you, and then on the backside of that, who do you think I should know? Great questions to ask when you're creating powerful connections.
Yeah, this just came naturally to me, I was in sales, so
You're
I didn't
amazing.
realize not everybody did
Nonstop.
this.
Nonstop.
Nonstop.
It's
All right.
yeah.
What are the 3 tips, James?
First one is build that value network, kind of map it out, think about how you want it to look. Secondly, create those connection rituals. Find a way for you to consistently and regularly connect. I love the LinkedIn roulette. You can be your address book roulette, whatever. Find that
Yep.
ritual that forces you to do the outreach, and then think about the networking pools. Map out the groups and the organizations that you should be reaching out to ensure that you're being diverse. You're not stuck in one industry, one people, one ecosystem. Make sure you're dipping your toe into a lot of pools.
Just take some kind of action and do it regularly.
Yep. Yep.
Such good advice. Thanks, James.
All right. Thank you.